Hello and welcome to this Motivational Maps live show where I'm Mark Terrell from the Reluctant Leader Academy, where I dive into some motivational maps to look at how they can help us make better decisions mainly in our roles and in our businesses, but there are other uses for motivational maps. So before I start, we're going to be looking at our lowest motivator, how that influences us and how we can prevent it becoming our Achilles heel. So just by knowing what it is, that can be a big, a really useful step to take, first of all. But first of all, we need to look at what a motivational map is and where that's what I'm really talking about. Thanks for telling me, Toby. Mute's off now. I'll start again. So for those that were just looking at me and you won't hear anything, I had it on mute for some reason. So these are the 9 motivators that we all have. What we've got to do is find out which ones are most important to us. And you'll see that there are 9 motivators with 3 groups of 3. The 3 relationship, 3 achievement, and 3 growth motivators. The 3 motivators are defender, which is about security and predictability. The friend, which is about belonging and fulfillment and relationships. And the star, which is about seeking recognition and social esteem. The 3 achievement motivators are the director, which is about power, influence, and being in charge. The builder is about money and material satisfaction. And the expert is about knowledge and specialism. And then we've got the 3 growth motivators. The creator, which is the drive for innovation and new ideas, problem solving. Then the spirit, which is the drive for freedom and autonomy. And then the searcher, which is about making a difference and doing something worthwhile. So all these 9, we have them in a different order. So I'm going to share with you 3 examples of clients that I've worked with who have completed a motivational map and how their lowest motivator was a key to them understanding what they spend least time focusing on. And that can often become our Achilles heel, where we're doing little of what we should be doing. It's important to fulfill those top motivators, but it's also we've got to be aware that there are probably things that don't motivate us in our business that we've got to pay enough attention to. Right, so let's move on then. So the first example here is you'll see that they're put in an order and they're given a value. So in this instance, this person is the top motivator is searcher, score of 27, that means that it's quite a strong motivator, needs to be met within the business. Secondly, a friend with score of 25, and then thirdly, the creator with a score of 24. So first of all, we'd always look at how those motivators are being met within their business and their role. But also, the key to this is, in particular, what we're going to look at here is the lowest motivator and how that affects the way we look at things. So we look at these things in the descending order. The thing that's least important is where we're paying least attention to. So in this instance, this business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call him, the lowest motivator here is this defender with a score of 13. So what this tells us is that the lowest motivator for this person is to have stability and security. So the question I ask is, what are you doing about those things? Because we have to have a certain amount of security and stability in a business. And if we don't have them, then particularly if we are focused on change, which the searcher and the creator are very much about change, if we're not putting in processes to make sure things are stable, then our business can suffer and never really get the traction that we really need for success. So in this instance, it was about focusing on making sure that they were checking things were being done, and we're putting in processes to make sure that things that need to be done are been done automatically without having to think about them. Because if you have to think about them, then they were getting missed. So this was very much about getting things done that weren't getting done in this instance. So next one then we'll go to is, so this person is searcher motivated as well, number 1, 32, very strong, and you see that it's above that 30 mark, which we call a spike. So very strong drive for doing something meaningful and purposeful. Secondly, the friend, which is about belonging, and thirdly, the spirit, which is about freedom and autonomy. So worth mentioning here that you might notice that friend and spirit they are what we call a little bit in conflict, in that friend is about belonging and spirit is about being independent and autonomous. So this person has a bit of what we call an internal conflict going on, where they want to belong and they want to be independent at the same time. That's not to say it can't happen, but it can be quite tricky to have both at the same time. So that's one of the things we would have talked about in this instance. But let's go to the lowest motivator again. So in this instance, it's the director and the score of 10, and that's just on the other dotted line, which is 10, which is the inverse spike, which is what we call a motivator, which is almost you're anti it and you almost avoid it like the plague. So in this instance, right on that mark. So the thing they least want to do is actually take responsibility and be in charge. So there's obvious implications there with someone who is running a business but doesn't want to be in charge. If they're not wanting to be in charge, then they're probably not being very directive. They're not being very clear about what they want. And if they're focusing on those top motivators all the time and neglecting doing those things that they have to do as a business owner, with regards to being clear about what our objectives are and being responsible and taking on responsibilities, then that is going to lead to a little bit of a feeling within the business that there's no real direction and no one's really taking responsibility here. So that's how, in this instance, the lowest motivator can become a problem if there's not enough attention paid. So in this instance, we looked at how they can take responsibility but also share responsibility, so that it didn't become burdensome. Because the thing we do want to do is make sure that we don't spend all our time doing what least motivates us. So it's not about changing our perspective completely, but it's making sure that that lowest motivator isn't becoming an Achilles heel to our business. So we need to be aware of it and then take steps to make sure that it doesn't become a problem. Okay, so there's one more example here. Again, there's a reoccurring theme here. Searcher is the most important. So all three, the searcher was most important. So that's something to bear in mind. If you think about motivation, there's 3 business owners here who all are primarily motivated to make a difference, to do something purposeful and meaningful. So make what you want of that, but that's quite common. That's what I come across a lot. Second motivator for this person is the expert, and which is about being a specialist. And then the third is the builder, which is about money and material satisfaction. So this person is commercially savvy, does have a little bit of conflict between earning money and also doing something worthwhile, which we had to sort of address and make sure that wasn't becoming a conflict. But going again back down to the lowest motivator, in this instance it's the star with a score of 8. So this person, the thing they least want to do is be noticed and get recognition. So what we've got to make sure is that they're not downplaying and not getting, downplaying what they're doing and not getting recognised for the good they're doing. Because if they want to make a difference, they've got to be noticed for it. So this is really about marketing. It's about making sure that you're doing enough to get noticed, shouting loud enough, and not avoiding it. So as I said about the other two, it's not about suddenly focusing just on this lowest motivator as being the be all and end all. It's about remembering that this could become our Achilles heel if we don't pay enough attention to it. So making sure that we're focusing on those top 3, but remembering the lowest motivator could become a problem if we're not aware. So this was about making sure that there was someone within the business that was getting recognition for the business and for the team, so that it wasn't being ignored and it wasn't something that no one ever took responsibility for. So in this instance, and we also wanted to make sure that in this instance you'll see that the score of 8 is below that 10 dash line, which means that this person has almost a negative feeling about recognition and getting recognition. So we had to make sure that didn't become, again, a problem, because all these 9 motivators are important. There's no motivator that's more important than the other. We just got to make sure that in context that they are being taken care of. And also, if we as a business owner don't want to do something and it's also important to our business, then we need to either make ourselves do it and have some sort of process and systemize it in some way, or we find somebody else to do it, and whether that's internally or externally, making sure that doesn't get to become a problem for the business, because in this instance the lack of getting recognition, because every business needs it. So there we are. That's a quick run through with regards to 3 examples of motivational maps where I've been able to help a business owner realize that yes, it's important to make sure those top 3 motivators are being met, but also remembering that we don't want our lowest motivator to become an Achilles heel for ourselves or for the business. So we can take conscious decisions around making sure those lowest motivators are being taken care of in whatever way that the business needs. So hopefully that is useful. If you are interested in motivation, I've written a book. You'll see there's a logo here, but I've written a book called Motivated. You'll find that in Amazon or on my website, which is the reluctantleader.academy, where I talk a lot about where motivation is key. It's key in many aspects of a business, but what I've done is breaking it down into 7 steps, and the 7 steps are the outside of that circle that you see up there, where first of all we look into the mirror. That's about understanding what you're doing, and then we make sure that those other 6 steps you're taking into account motivation with regards to how that affects our decision making, because essentially that's what we're talking about here. Our decisions are influenced by our motivators. So there we are. So hopefully that was being useful. If you have any comments, thank you for Toby for joining us and telling me that I was on mute. That's really useful. And until the next time, for the next Motivational Maps Live, I hope you have a great week, and see you next time.